So the president-elect, Donald Trump, going off on the mayor of Chicago for a spike in gang violence. Mr. Trump suggesting that Rahm Emanuel isn't up to the challenge of protecting the city, tweeting this. Quote, Chicago murder rate is record-setting 4,331 shooting victims with 762 murders in 2016. By the way, that's an increase of 57% for the year. If the mayor can't do it, he goes on to say, he must ask for federal help. Guy Benson joins us now, political editor at townhall.com and a Fox News contributor. Julie Roginsky is a Democratic strategist and Fox News contributor. Welcome to both of you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys. It's great to see you this morning. This is a very serious issue that plagues the city of Chicago. We've heard so much over the past couple of years about Black Lives Matter, about police violence, and relatively little about this huge issue, Julie. Why do you think that is?
I don't know why that is. For the people in Chicago who've suffered and lost loved ones, it's an issue that affects them every day, and it should be talked about more. Look, there's no excuse, and this should not be a partisan issue for what is going on in Chicago. The federal government does have a role to play. As the president-elect has pointed out, I know that Mayor Emanuel apparently met with him, with President-elect Trump, and asked him for help as well a while back, so that's good. You know, any and all hands on deck. This is an epidemic, and there's no reason as to why the city of New York and the city of L.A., both of which have seen not just not a resurgence of gun violence, but in fact have seen record lows in terms of gun deaths. Have the statistics they do, and Chicago has the statistics it does, and Chicago needs to take a look at best practices and get our hands on deck on this issue.
I mean, I think back to the Democratic convention guy and the mothers for the movement who have children who were injured or killed by police officers, and you know, you wonder where the rest of the moms are whose children have been slaughtered in the streets of Chicago. It would be good to give them equal time in terms of the issue that is going on in the inner city there and elsewhere.
Yeah, but Chicago's particularly bad, as Julie just said. And if you look at the numbers, Chicago's murder rate, or the number of murders in that city, is higher than New York and L.A. combined last year. Yep. New York and L.A. are bigger cities than Chicago population-wise. And so when you look at this problem, and there have been a lot of reports on it, the Chicago police feel like they're on their heels. They feel like they are hamstrung. They feel like they are burdened with huge amounts of paperwork and political pressure. And I've never been one to say you should never criticize the police. I think police ought to be criticized when they do something wrong. Every case should be taken on its own based on the facts of the case. But in this culture that we're seeing increasingly in places like Chicago, where the cops feel like they're getting it from all angles, they're taking a step back. They're being more tentative in their job of law enforcement as a result, and you're seeing communities suffer the tragic, lethal consequences.
It's been documented by Heather McDonald in her book quite closely. And here's Gary McCarthy last night, the former police chief there, on 60 Minutes. Watch.
It doesn't seem that filling out a two-page report is that onerous.
Oh, sure it is. It can take you up to 45 minutes. And one of the things in policing that we've been trying to do is knock back the amount of time that officers spend doing paperwork and get them out doing more proactive things to prevent crime.
Yeah. Julie, President Obama is going to address the city of Chicago in one of his final speeches. What do you think his legacy will be on improving our inner cities?
Well, in certain inner cities, certainly if you look at places like New York, for example, where I live, his legacy is quite good. It's really not a federal issue. I know the federal government does have a role to play. It certainly did in the 90s under Bill Clinton in reducing violence. But this is really a city-by-city issue, as Guy so aptly pointed out. Why is it that the city of New York and the city of Los Angeles, also governed by Democratic mayors under a Democratic president, why have they seen the crime statistics that they have? And Chicago, which is governed by a Democratic mayor under a Democratic president, has seen the statistics it has. So again, this is not a federal issue, although the federal government does have a very significant role to play. And I strongly urge the president-elect to sit down with Mayor Emanuel and to work this out. And there is something that both of them can do in tandem. But this is not the time to sit there and play partisan blame games. It's the time to sit there and try to figure out what's going on. And to solve it, because mothers are losing their children on a daily basis. It is inexcusable.
It is inexcusable. I think everybody agrees on that. The work is cut out for them in the city of Chicago, and the rate has gone up in many other cities across the country, regardless of the fact that it's improved somewhat in the two big cities that you both mentioned. So it is a nationwide issue. Julie, thank you very much. Guy, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
to have you both here.
Thank you.